Hi everyone, I'm Tally, this is Farrell, and we are bored of it. Welcome to our preview of the very first expansion for Dog Park New Tricks.
And in Dog Park New Tricks, some of the overview of what you're going to get. You're going to be able to add a fifth player to the game. You're going to get more dogs, which of course is always a bonus. And the gist of these new dogs are that they're mixed breeds or rescue dogs. So now dogs will be two types of breed, which opens up the possibilities for all of the final scoring and the fight for who has the most dogs of certain breeds. And you're also going to be able to teach dogs tricks. So the tricks are special powers, and you'll have a little dog trainer who'll train your dogs, and then throughout the game they can use these abilities to do something special, which really opens up the decision space. But let's just go and get a little more into it, and then we'll provide our thoughts. First, let's talk about the fifth player. It's the most simple addition. You can play with a fifth player. But unlike some games where I think a fifth player is something they give you but you don't necessarily want, thinking of games like Barrage, for example. Wow. This, I think, will be quite a nice addition because to us, the original Dog Park, the base game, is more of a family weight game, something you want to play with people who enjoy lighter games. And in that family setting, I think it's nice to be able to add that fifth player, parents and kids, or kids and friends, or any combination. And this is also a game that doesn't have too long a playtime. And there is some simultaneous play in some of the phases. So I think having that fifth player won't add too much onto it. And I just think it'll also make some elements more interesting, say the auction, because when you have an auction game, usually the more players you have, the more interesting it gets because there's more coming up against each other. Same with the walking of the dogs. Yeah. And yeah, so you can play with a fifth player. Yeah, because we played a 4-player game yesterday, didn't we? And it was quite fun with the auctions and the walks as well. Yeah. It was more savage. Yes. Yeah, so then you have the new dog cards, which we love because they are rescue dogs, and we have 2 rescue dogs, so close to our heart. But game-wise, they are 2 breeds essentially because they're mixed breeds. So what that does is make it quite interesting with regards to the endgame scoring, where you have to have the most of a certain type of dog, because one dog can now contribute basically to 2 of those goals. Yeah. So I think it's kind of funny or like more interesting to be able to look over at other players and see what they have, because you can't immediately tell in a way. So you have to really, really concentrate on what other people have. Yeah. So it makes it quite engaging. It also opens up possibilities throughout the game with regards to the tricks, which you'll talk about in a bit. But because the dogs can be 2 breeds, and also in-game powers, final scoring, you can really open it up because your dogs are 2 breeds. Also really love the little facts which they have in the original Dog Park cards at the bottom of each dog, and they're just all good dogs. Yes. What more is there to say? More dogs equals good. That is true. And another thing that's nice is they've now expanded the abilities dogs have. So with these new dogs, there's all kinds of new abilities. So giving some variety into the game as well. And these work quite well. They're as good as the ones in the base game, like them. And to be honest, for us, when we did our preview of the original game, we were like, where are the rescue dogs?
Or the mixed breed dogs.
Mixed breed at least. So we're really glad to see them. So that's big improvement for us. Coming to the tricks, these are these cards here, and each round you're going to have a trainer that you'll put on a dog, and then there's a cost of taking this special trick action if you have a trainer on the dog, or once that round finishes, you put a little frisbee token on them, and then they're now trained, and then that will have a different cost, usually a bit more, because usually if you have the trainer working with them, often it's free, but not always. But then to kind of get them to do it later, as in real life, you need to bribe them.
Such relatable content.
Yeah. So here the tricks are definitely interesting, and I like what they add. And the whole thing this expansion does is it gives you more decision space. It gives you more options. It makes things a little bit more complex. You have different ways to go about stuff. And actually, a little bit what it reminds me of with all this together is the way when you had the Oceania expansion for Wingspan and it added Nectar, which was like a wild resource.
Yeah.
Then you no longer had an issue of having the right resources, but there was the other elements came into play more. And that's what this is like. Because when we played yesterday, nobody really had difficulty in getting the food they need because you have so many different ways to manipulate and get what you want.
Yeah.
So it gives you a lot more breathing space and decision space, and it makes the game more interesting and different routes come.
It's less about kind of lack of the resources, but more about manipulating, like you say, and ways to spin them out and see how far you can go and getting combos, and it's all just more, and it's all about the optimization rather than just the gathering, let's say.
Exactly. And I mean, one thing that's good is you do get a whole lot more dog cards and you get a whole lot of trick cards as well. And these are randomized every game. The only thing that we do have a bit of a problem with is also the trick cards, where I can't quite put my finger on it, and I think you feel the same, that it doesn't come together quite seamlessly. And the issue is you're introducing 7 potential actions into a game, and you also have the mixed breeds, which could do 2 of them. So arguably by the final round, you could be able to do every one potentially.
Yeah.
And some of them fire off at different times, different phases. And it's quite hard to both keep it in mind and think about it all the time in relation if you can do 4 or 5 of these special actions. And there's a great one where it's when you leave the park, you get 2 resources. And it's really easy to forget that.
Yeah, I did forget.
And I think we all have forgotten that at some point, even though obviously it's such a great power. And I think it might have been for us a little better if maybe there was only 4 or less variety, or they stuck to certain breeds. So you got that familiarity. But as it is, you're shuffling in these at random and then giving them to random breeds. And it was just a lot.
It is a lot.
And it didn't come together quite well. I like what it's doing, but I don't know how to state. It's not a smooth transition. Like, we play a lot of really complex, heavy games, and it's kind of different. It's more of a confusion than difficulty, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it could do a lot. It can open up a lot for you, like we said.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to remember for some reason to incorporate it in.
Yeah.
But if you do remember, then it's going to be really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be someone who will play this over and over and over, then it's going to be great, and eventually you get to grips with them.
Yeah.
But that was really the only thing that was a bit problematic for us in all the new content. And another thing that I do really like, actually, is that you get these new super locations. So the locations when you go in the walk are all different now. And you have these new kind of action tiles, which are double-sided. So you get all these new spaces on the walk, and they're really interesting as well. I really liked how the new walk was far more interesting, and these spaces gave different options, and people were excited to go to these new spaces when they're revealed, and like, oh, that's a really good deal, I want to go there.
There was a lot of decision making in our game yesterday about, I don't know which path to take, because both are equally as interesting to me, and that was compounded by the new location spaces, I think. Yeah.
So shall we go to final thoughts and bring in the doggos?
Yeah.
Final thoughts. We have the dogs here with us, Meg and Sven, to give their opinion.
What do you think?
And Meg seems to approve by the amount she's smiling. But that might just be because she's also in the game on a card.
Yeah.
So the original Dog Park is a really nice, approachable game that does a lot of different things. You have auction mechanics, you have the kind of move along a track and get resources a la Parks. You have the kind of card collection and comboing of powers that you get in Wingspan. And it all comes together quite nicely, and you get a lot of gameplay in a short time. And also, obviously, we love the theme with the dogs.
Yeah.
But what do we think about new tricks?
So, yeah, I think we really enjoyed it. And we think if you are already a fan of Dog Park, then there's no reason not to add this to your collection. It gives you more players, more decision space, more things to shake up the game, and most importantly, more doggos. So really, I don't know what else you could want.
Exactly.
I'll get it just based on more doggos.
Exactly. I think it's also perfect for people who maybe you played Dog Park, you enjoyed it, but felt maybe it was just lacking something. And now you have all of this, I don't want to say all of this extra complexity because it's not so much more.
Yeah.
But you do have a bit more complexity, you have a lot more decision space, but it fits really seamlessly into the existing mechanisms. There's not really new mechanisms so much here besides the fact that you can do a trick, but what you can do with the tricks are within the base game rules.
It's just more of Dog Park, yeah.
And also you can obviously play with more people, which might be a bonus for some.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get a lot of extra dogs here, you get a lot of tricks, so you get lots of variability as well. And as I said, I also really enjoyed the super locations for changing up the walks in the park. I thought they're a personal favourite addition beyond the
really
mixed breed rescue dogs.
Yeah.
So yeah, so please ask us any questions you might have about Dog Park new tricks. And we hope this was helpful. If it was, please consider commenting or subscribing. It means a lot to us, interacting in some way.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time with the Doggos.
Bye.
See ya.